So.
All right. Thank you, Anne. Good afternoon to everyone, or good night, depending on your time zone. Dr. Lyle Winston Small. Dr. Small received a PhD in environmental biology from the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada in 1973. During a distinguished career in agricultural research and administration, he was permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and chief agricultural officer in the island of Barbados. He also worked as an international consultant for CARDI, CDB, the FAO, IADB, and IICA on projects to eradicate various crop diseases and to set up the agricultural information databases. This work resulted in his traveling throughout the Caribbean, Central America, South America, North America, Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean. He wrote many papers and authored one book, In Search of the Sacred Silk Cotton Tree. He spent many, many hours researching the biology, folklore, and history of the sacred silk cotton tree. Today, Dr. Small, the foremost expert in all things silk cotton in the Caribbean region that we know, is here to share his knowledge with us. I present to you Dr. Winston Small. Dr. Small?
Hello, Aisha. Thanks very much for that introduction. I'm certain I don't deserve much of what you said, but in the interest of time, I think I would like to go straight into a short description of some of the things that I had in the book, In Search of the Sacred Silk Cotton Tree. I'm looking for the slide on the...
Lion, remember it's streaming from the radio. So, Lion?
Yeah, okay. This picture encapsulates the darkness of this silk cotton tree in general. It is a picture of the graveyard in St. Philip's Anglican Church, and you can see the tree looks menacing over those graves. I can imagine that you would not allow your young son or daughter to go into that environment at night. But that the dread of the silk cotton tree is one of the things which has passed down to many of the younger generation in the Caribbean islands, but also it's a tree which has roots in Mesoamerica as well as in Africa, West Africa. The tree is found throughout the latitudes of 10 degrees north to 10 degrees south. The ancients saw trees as universally powerful symbols, physical expressions of life, growth, and vigor, and the continuity of society and life over time. Some societies saw trees as links between earth and heaven. The silk cotton tree is honored in several countries. It is the national tree of the following countries: Guatemala, Puerto Rico, Equatorial Guinea, Honduras, and the Central African Republic. It is also featured on the flags of a number of countries, and I've illustrated just one, the flag of Equatorial Guinea. The silk cotton tree was considered sacred by native peoples in West Africa, as well as by Mayans and other Amerindians in Central America. Some common names for the silk cotton tree, whose scientific name is Ceiba pentandra, a member of the bombax family of trees. It's Cancan tree in Suriname, Kumaka tree in Jamaica, Guyana, Odum in Guyana, Fromage in Dominica, Doom in the Congo, Pochoti in Mexico, Mapu in Haiti, and the ceiba tree in Latin America. The silk cotton tree is a magnificent tree. We first really saw it in all its splendor in Africa some 20 years ago in Ghana, where a number of trees in a forest environment were well over 180 feet tall. This slide is just to show the variety, the range in the height of trees in various places. The leftmost picture is of at the Botanic Gardens in Ghana. That tree is almost 200 feet high and is over 200 years. There's a tree in Suriname in the middle, which is like 150 feet high. And then on the right-hand side, there is a tree, which would be a relatively big tree in Barbados at about 75 feet or so high. This is another tree, a majestic silk cotton tree in Aburi Botanic Gardens in Ghana. Note the lianas, the other ecosystem, the ecosystem that is around the tree. There are various vines and so on growing on mostly mature trees in forest situations. And these have all sorts of small insects and lizards and tadpoles because the tree accumulates water as well. So the tree is an ecosystem in its own. Just for those who don't know, the pollination of the silk cotton tree is by bats during dusk and nighttime. And I think that some of you would have experienced bats flying through the cathedral or church at dusk time. It's possible that they might have flown from a silk cotton tree. And that is probably one of the reasons to why the tree is found to be so dread because of the association of bats with it. The pods are oblong, smooth, and light green. They burst open while still on the tree, but after leaves have fallen, expose the light cottony fluff in the April-May period, in the dry period. This picture shows the silk cotton, which is much lighter than the ordinary cotton from the cotton tree. Is very fluffy and is resistant to water and decay. Next slide. The silk cotton tree drops its leaves in the dry season, and it is full of leaves and so on in the other part of the year. Next. Long lifespans have been claimed for many silk cotton trees in many countries. In Curacao, the Hofi tree is over 600 years old. In Santo Domingo, the tree which it is claimed that Christopher Columbus tied his bark onto when he landed for the first time in the West Indies. Is over 500 years old. In Antigua, there was, or perhaps there might still be, a hollow tree that many tourists visited. There's over 300 years. In Cuba, there's a cotton tree commemorating Havana that is over 400 years. There are some trees in Jamaica that are known to be over 300 years. In Veracruz, Mexico, there's a tree that Cortez was supposed to have landed close to. It's 400 years old. And in Tafrom, Cambodia, there's one that is over 600 years old. So silk cotton trees tend to grow for a very long time. This is just one picture that shows something of the longevity of silk cotton trees in Barbados. On the left is a picture of a silk cotton tree at Fort Denmark. The same tree at Fort Denmark we took pictures of in 2003. It is the same tree. It has roughly, it doesn't look much older, right? But around the tree, you can see where former works have vanished. Next slide, please. In Barbados, again, St. Mary's Church had a silk cotton tree that died in 1995. It was the infamous Justice Tree, on which a number of people were executed over the years between 1880 to, I'm not too certain when the executions would have stopped. Next slide, please. Commercial uses of the tree. The wood is relatively light, and hollowed out trunks were used by Caribbean people for making canoes, coffins, and cricket bats. In Ghana, plywoods are produced from the wood, which is also used for making stools, domestic utensils, wooden figures, drums, and coffins. Now, on the buttresses, you might have seen the buttresses on some of the pictures that I showed. The buttresses are made into doors, tables, and platters. Seeds are pounded and ground to a meal and used in soup or eaten after being roasted. Oil from the seeds is also used in edible products, in lubricants, or in soaps. Animal feed is produced from ground seed. And the caper, the actual silk cotton, makes an excellent sound absorber for sound studios. Medicinal uses, it has a variety of medicinal uses. The bark is used to cure abdominal complaints, poisonings, as a general tonic, skin ointment, against malaria, to increase milk production in nursing mothers, to reduce fevers. The seeds, leaves, bark, and resin are used for dysentery, fevers, venereal diseases, asthma, menstruation bleedings, kidney diseases. The decoctions of leaves and fruit are used for a number of purposes. Silk cotton folklore in the diaspora. Now, this is the main thing that I wanted to look at, because there are a number of aspects of the folklore of the silk cotton. I think I mentioned before that the silk cotton trees are usually found in the tropics between the 10th degrees latitude. Next, please. Silk cotton trees are generally considered to be the home of paranormal entities like ghosts, duppy, sukuan, lagables, steel donkeys, and so on in most islands of the West Indies. These entities are said to live in silk cotton tree hollows or buttresses during the day and come out at night to prey on the unwary. For protection in some countries, the householder is said to put sand around his house for the um, ghost to count the grains of sand. If it fails, it has to go back to its tree. These paranormal entities drink adults' blood, but are said to prefer small children's blood. Hence, you have the tales of Sukuyan stealing young children. Contemporary Caribbean peoples are essentially still wary of cutting down silk cotton trees to avoid offending and usually leave them standing. Some Barbados folklore that we can mention. Cotton was one of the indigenous species growing here before the European and slave settlement. Most of the cotton trees were felled between 1627 and 1665 when the colonists were clearing the land for agriculture. Most present-day Barbadians have no knowledge of the tree itself or its reputation as a devil tree or a duppy tree. However, some people from Sitz village, which used to have an outstanding tree which died about two decades ago, that the tree there was known as the devil tree, and that there were tales of the devil riding a white horse with one horn on his head, around a white horse with one horn on his head around the tree. The variant of the devil tale was given by people who live in some other parts and near churches. Governor Sir William Robinson, sometime between 1880 to 1885, ordered the silk cotton tree at Government House to be cut down, and soon afterward his wife died. The sudden death was attributed to the heresy of destroying the silk cotton tree. Morissette reported that the Fitz village tree was the last place that poor Millie of folk song fame was seen before she went to Brazil. Certain Omford could sing that for you. Millie going to Brazil. The justice tree was a silk cotton tree, which I had shown before. Next slide, please. These are some trees from some of the other islands. I made some idea, to give you some idea of the folklore. Opposite the picture was a silk cotton tree at Cabbage National Park in Dominica. It's stated by Penelope Honeychurch that Caribs rarely use the floss and pillows because they feel their sleep would be affected. And the usual thing where people would not normally cut down a silk cotton tree except in March and May, the dry season, because the spirits were said to be absent during that time. Next slide, please. In Guyana, similar story with respect to not cutting down the tree. In the countryside in Guyana, silk cotton trees were said to be the homes of Dutchmen. The ghost Dutchman was the ghost of the original Dutch settlers. Next slide, please. In Jamaica, it's said that Spaniards buried treasure on the silk cotton trees and then killed the slaves who buried it. When slaves were ordered to cut down silk cotton trees, they would pour libations on the roots to protect themselves. Next slide, please. In Suriname, as one drives through Suriname, you can often pass groves of land being cleared. And in many cases, you see the silk cotton tree standing alone and proud. Trinidad, Port of Spain's original name was Q Mucurapo, the place of the silk cotton trees. And most silk cotton trees were cut down in Port of Spain on orders of Governor Picton in the 1790s. And that was after the Haitian Revolution. It is still a dominant tree in forest environments. In Trinidad, most people tend to understand and know something about silk cotton tree and its stories surrounding it. In Tobago, part of Trinidad, it is said that Gang Gang Sarah, and I think you're going to hear some more about Gang Gang Sarah tonight, an African witch who had flown from West Africa to live there, climbed a silk cotton tree in Lake Oto, Tobago, in her old age to fly back to Africa, but died when she launched off because she had eaten salt. Anne had promised that you will hear a little bit more about eating salt tonight, the effect that it has on people. In West Africa, silk cotton trees are regarded with reverence throughout West Africa. They're thought to be the dwellings of gods or spirits, and sacrifices of fowls or other animals are often seen between the buttresses. My son, Kofi, he visited a number of West African countries, and this is one picture from the slave memorial to celebrate the end of slavery, where there is a prominent silk cotton tree in the memorial park. The Uda Park. In Nigeria, at the Osogbo shrine, there is a silk cotton tree, I'm told by Kofi, right in the foreground. And behind it is a perigon tree, which is also a sacred tree. And then one can see the various fetishes which are in the shrine. This is just to show a very big silk cotton tree in a place called Monkey. Silk cotton tree are found at forts. Here is one at two forts, Fort Denmark on the right, and the fort in near Bridgetown on the left. Next one. Yeah. Next one, please. One of the things that we found throughout our look at silk cotton trees research was that silk cotton trees seem to be very regularly found at religious sites in Barbados. But then when we checked, we found that it was also found at religious sites in a number of other places. Next slide. This is another tree at the St. Philip Parish Church. The trees here. There's another tree at, I think, the St. John's Church. This one is Old Sharon Graveyard, where there is a very old tree with a hollow and with a huge gall. And many of the very old trees have galls because of insect damage. In addition to Barbados, the cotton trees were also found associated with churches and graveyards in Suriname, Guyana, Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Haiti, Antigua, and Jamaica. This association seems to be common to the other islands. This is an old, next one, please. These are two more silk cotton trees. I think this one is in Antigua. This is one in Suriname, where it's by the Jewish cemetery in Suriname. Next one, please. This is an interesting tree. This one is in Haiti, in Bois, Cayman, in Haiti, where it is claimed that the night before the 1791 uprising and revolution, that at this particular tree there was a voodoo ceremony held, which had the involvement of the sacrifice of a black pig before the revolution started. It's claimed that the 1791 bloody Haitian revolution started after a hooligan who is a voodoo priest, presided over a voodoo ceremony. That tree existed up to September 2003 when one of Kofi's friends took a picture of it near Voodoo Shrine. The backstory is that a fundamentalist church built a new church near the area with the silk cotton tree to counteract its supposed satanic effect. Two priests, voodoo priests, then put a spell on the tree, but it did not really work too well. They were hoping that it would show the superiority of their religion, but the tree slowly died, and now the two hooligans are also dead. The picture that I showed you before showed was taken near to the site of the the fundamentalist church. There was a widespread destruction of silk cotton trees in the Caribbean in the 1800s, and it is thought that much of this might be due to fears of slave uprisings modeled on the Haiti Revolution. Example, Trinidad, um, very soon afterwards, through Picton, um, destroyed most of the trees around Port of Spain. And even in Barbados, the Buster Revolution might have been inspired to some extent by the um, Haitian Revolution. This is in cotton tree far away. You're just seeing the roots. It's destroyed a church. It's in a place called Tafrom in Cambodia. Next slide, please. Here, it's two sacred trees, two cotton trees at Mayor and Olmec sites. You can see the mask down here, which is typical of the Olmecs. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, silk cotton trees were sacred trees of the Indians of the New World, and they were here before settlement. These cotton trees are very regularly seen around churches. We wonder if the early missionaries to the Caribbean have followed the policy of siting their churches on perceived holy sites with existing sacred trees. I think I'll finish there. What I hope I've been able to show you is the widespread nature of the beliefs about silk cotton tree. And I hope that this would inspire some people to do some more research, more definitive research on the silk cotton tree in the Caribbean and in Africa and other places where it exists. Thank you.